Thanks. Even I forgot. Thanks, Asha. So, Albus Dumbledore. Maybe we can use a chat window for this. So, how many of you all think Albus was a great, great mentor for Harry Potter? Let's see what you think. And maybe you can just use a thumbs up to say that, or a plus, or whatever to say that you thought he was a great mentor or not. And there are no right, wrong or right answers, guys. It's just an exercise for you to, think about some mentors through the ages, some mentors that, other people like or don't like, or you liked or whatever. So nice to see the participation. So when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about Dumbledore a lot. I was thinking about it from his perspective, and then I try to think about it from Harry's perspective, and wanted to see if we could meet in the middle. And I felt sorry for Harry in some situations because sometimes he just wanted to know what to do, and Dumbledore would give him this, this high level advice, which would say, either follow your heart or do this or do that. He did lead by example too, but sometimes Harry just wanted the answers. So for me, it really depended on the relationship between the two people. What were they really looking for? um, and what did each one want to get out of that relationship, right? So Dumbledore was very clear, and I think Vishaka says that he tried to lead by example. He didn't make it easy for him, right? He was there for him, but he didn't make it easy for him. If you look at it from Dumbledore's perspective, yeah, pretty cool mentor. If I look at it from Harry's perspective, he doesn't have any parents. He's lost in the school where he is. He's fighting all these kind of other forces. Maybe sometimes he just wanted the answer. And us too, depending on where we are in our career, maybe there are days when we are down. Sometimes we just want an answer. We don't want to beat around the bush and try to decipher some kind of puzzle to get that answer. But then, is that what you want to ask your mentor? Right? So I'll leave that with you for now, and we'll hop over to the next slide. Obi-Wan. I mean, how many Star Wars fans in the room? I'm sure all of you at least, seen one of the movies. And I think, Obi-Wan was probably the first mentor that we see in the Star Wars series. So Alec Guinness was the guy who played that. The whole robe deal and, representing a monk or a teacher was what they tried to bring in with Obi's character. And he did impart a lot of wisdom to young Skywalker, right? He taught Luke about the Force. He helped Luke, understand and mature in wisdom and knowledge, and also an attitude of self-reliance, right? So really, if you look at Obi, it's more reminiscent of a father figure, and Luke kind of listens to those lessons with a hope. But really, for Luke, it was more about trying to figure out who is his real father, right? But Obi really helped and mentored Luke until he became, until he got to adulthood and his whole transition. So I really like Obi as a mentor. Moving on to the next slide, I'm sure a lot of Yoda fans in the house. How many of you guys love Yoda? I think, I mean, when he was introduced in the series, he was already 900 years old, the Jedi master, whatever. He had this whole mantle of wisdom and how to be a mentor, and he really helped and trained Luke in the ways of becoming a Jedi, right? But Yoda's mentoring philosophy was slightly different, right? It was his way of life. So for him, he was trying to train the Jedi to find talent within themselves, but continue on their own journey. For me, I guess Yoda was more unobtrusive as a mentor, and he really, I mean, if you think about stuff that he passed on or what he talked about, which is always one of the things I remember is pass on what you've learned, right? So he taught people very unobtrusively how to be a mentor. So yeah, Master Yoda kind of did it for me often. Let's move to the next slide. And how many of you guys are Asterix fans? I love Asterix. I mean, a lot of my childhood memories and learning about stuff came from Asterix. And one of my favorite characters there is Getafix, right? So, I mean, he was more than just a friend to Obelix and Asterix. He was like a counselor. Right from the beginning of the series, if you started reading the comics, he was, he was shown as a fun figure. He had a great sense of humor, but he would make that magic potion for everyone and make sure they got enough of it. And he taught people also, right? So when the villagers became too selfish in Gaul, he would refuse to make the potion for them, right? um, he had a lot of other skills, not only the magic potion, but he had, he was village doctor occasionally, he was a teacher, he would always help Asterix or the other villagers, he would consult with them when stuff occurred. But if you looked at his characteristics, he rarely engaged in combat, he didn't fight, right? Even if there was, you see those little panel where everyone's throwing punches here and there, but Getafix would be kind of a little bit out of it. um, and you know I think if you really think about it, get a fix is was about who can be a mentor, about characters and what I think of them, and giving you guys some thought about it. Let's go straight into the next slide and take it from there. Okay, here we are. So I picked up this graphic from, I think, a college website. And this really talks about what is mentorship, what is mentoring, and what do you get out of mentoring, right? So it's really a reciprocal relationship if you think about what mentorship is, try to define it, right? It's a collaborative relationship. It is an at will relationship, which means nobody's forced into it. Both people want something out of it, and it normally happens between a junior and a senior employee. And the purpose of the relationship is to make sure that the junior employee actually gets some learning, gets some growth, gets some career development. Um, and most times, what I see today, or what is really happening in the world today, is you find a mentor normally within your organization, 60-70% within your team itself. Um, Maybe somebody senior, maybe a manager, maybe a director in your team, you pick them up as a mentor. Oftentimes, if for all of you who are in the aspiring manager category, maybe you look at a manager in another department or a director in another department as a mentor. And there's often emphasis on, in a regular mentor relationship, on the organizational goals. How does a mentor explain that or interpret to the person who's in that mentor relationship? Maybe career goals discussion, professional development, work life balance, etc., etc. Oftentimes a mentor would be a role model. Like, you'd look up to someone and you'd say, hey, I think that'll be a cool person for me to get mentorship from. In a corporate environment, it's mainly structured, but there's often you can get informal mentorship as well. So why do you want a mentor? I think this graphic really explains why you think, why you should have a mentor. And everybody, I feel, would benefit from having a mentor somewhere in their life through their relationships in a corporate world. They'll help you with motivation. You can ping them for advice. If you really want, you set up your goal to succeed and get to somewhere, they can help you there. They may provide direction over time, coaching, support when you're feeling low. Maybe not training per se, but maybe they guide you into whatever training they think you need. um, and normally there's a goal, right? So okay, in 12 months, let's see what I can get out of this relationship. Try to measure something at the end of it and figure out, is it worthwhile for you and for the person that is mentoring you at the end of it. And often so in my career, I've seen that as a senior person in an organization, a lot of weight is put for personally for my career development, to see how many people I've actually mentored or brought up the curve. So it is win-win for both people. And there are many reasons why people would either want to be a mentor or want to be a protege or a mentee. Let's move, Sharad, to the next slide, please. Okay, here we are. Um, in this graphic, I just want to touch briefly on some techniques and models that are standards before I get into the core stuff about how we can benefit from all of this. So there are different kinds of mentoring. The most common one is one-on-one. It's very traditional. Only two people are involved in this relationship: the mentor, the mentee. And it's normally a more experienced person that's paired with a less experienced person. to spend, I don't know, one hour a month, 2 hours a month, bringing that less experienced person up a curve. Group mentoring, I often, in my current role, like to try group mentoring because I find a bunch of people have a bunch of different skills and it can rub off on each other. um, this also works well in schools and colleges and youth programs, etc. One, because there's not enough time or resources available to bring up a whole group of people that you feel need to get to some level. So you identify 4 or 5 mentors for the group, and then you ask them to kind of bring them along based on whatever skill that the people in that group have. Peer mentoring, personally, I have used it often, got a lot of success at it. Learning from somebody that's pretty much your equal, or the same department, same role, same grade, same experiences, but a totally different worldview, right? Um, so when you pair up with people like that, it's a very supportive relationship. You learn from each other. You're able. There's no judgment in this, right? You just tell them, hey, I'm having this issue, or I'm working on this. I need your help. And the peer-to-peer relationship really helps you come up with what you're looking for when you're looking for good solutions. Distance mentoring, I'll talk a little bit more about towards the end, but overall, it's just the fact that we do it virtually, right? So you don't need to have no more water cooler conversations to help you get a mentor in today's world. You really can have a mentor from anywhere in the world, providing, both of you are willing to be in that relationship. Reverse mentoring, I have again personally used. So, especially when I want to learn a niche skill. Um, Whatever it may be, right? Even if I want to know how to make a video or something like that, I've always gone and sat with somebody who's really good at it and asked them, okay, I'll exchange program, I'll help you with this if you can teach me whatever skill you have. And when you're in a senior position, it's always good to keep refreshing your skills, and the best way to do it is with reverse mentoring, because you will get to build a bond and have a rapport with people that otherwise you may not even get the chance to work with. So reverse mentoring is something you guys should think about. Speed mentoring, I personally have never tried it, but I've been in a couple of workshops where we've done this, speed mentor session where you tell your problem to one person for like 5 minutes. You have that conversation and then you kind of move on, kind of like speed dating. But I really, for me, I personally haven't seen so much value from that. But I think if for example you have someone, a senior level professional sitting there who has only maybe an hour a day and 20 people to talk to, the speed mentorship thing would last because everyone can ask one question and move on. So these are different mentoring techniques and models. It'll be up to you to decide if you want to institute or start a mentor program in your team or your office, which one of these you'd like to try. And if you're looking for a mentor or you're looking for to be a mentee, where you'd like to plug in with all the different models and techniques. Everything works. It will just depend on your goal plan as to what you want to get out of it, and then you go from there. So that's a little bit. From now we've covered what is mentorship for anyone who really wanted to brush up, and some different standard mentoring techniques and models. Now we'll move to the next slide, and I'm going to take you through something slightly different. Thank you, Sharad. um, okay, so this slide is probably, you can also at some point use it as a takeaway for the future. It's just 5 simple steps about how to find a mentor, right? Or where to find a mentor. So the first thing I would like you guys to do at some point, and you don't really have to do it now or do it on, visually for everyone, was if you're looking for a mentor, what is it you want to do? Think about 5 people that you really admire, and in as much as you may not be friends with them, but you're kind of acquainted with them. So somebody you admire, you're acquainted with, so they'll know really who you are. List out, maybe have an Excel sheet where you list out 5 people in a row, um, what who they are, and then below that list out what you admire most about them, right? So for different people, it'll be different things. Maybe I admire punctuality in somebody else. Maybe in another person, I admire their technical skill set. Maybe the third one, I admire how they've grown their career from, X to Y on an axis. So there'll be different things that I admire about a person out of these five. And then the next thing you want to do is list out what you think you want to learn from them. Okay, so one, who they are, you kind of know them, yes or no. What you admire the most about them, and take your time when you do this exercise, because only if you do a lot of self reflection will you get the best out of it. And then what is it you want to learn. So ideally, before you can do this two ways when you list out what you want to learn. One is, you kind of think about what it is that you're lacking. So probably you've gone through maybe a review section with your manager or whatever, and you feel, okay, these are some things which I don't know, so I need to know about it. Or here's my skill gap, or here's where I feel, if I need to get to the next grade, this is what I need to learn. List that out. And then also list out from the other perspective, maybe a stretch goal or something that you admire in the other person that you want to learn, right? So once you have that, out of the five people, probably narrow it down, pick two, because you always want to have a backup. You can't just go with one person. And then prepare your pitch. So when you prepare a pitch, it's just the same. I've talked about elevator pitches before in I think the entrepreneur session, but it's just about, who you are, how you can sell yourself in 30 seconds to someone to make sure that they want to know more about you. Prepare that pitch, and then add to the pitch the what's in it for you if you're mentored by that person. So you need to have a very clear goal as to what you will achieve from that relationship, and then a what's in it for them. And I feel that works. I've seen that work really well, because when you have a what's in it for you and for them, even if the conversation goes nowhere and they don't have time to pick you up as their mentor, they will probably remember you, and maybe when they get some spare time, they will, they'll carve out some time for you, because they've seen that you've really thought about this relationship and you've thought about why you want to come there. It's a thoughtful conversation. It's not just about, hey, I need a mentor, and oh, can you help me? Most people don't really want to do that. Then you set up your formal meeting and you pitch. I'm going to take you through probably a couple of slides from here, a little bit more as to, how to set up that meeting, how to pitch, how to talk things through. But for now, this is, at this point, I think if you can just think about this, and use this as an exercise to help you decide how to find a mentor, it should really help you. Let's hop to the next slide. Thank you. Okay. Maybe the slide should have come first, actually. Where to find a mentor? So there are various ways. Most organizations have a mentorship program, so you can go enroll in that. I've seen it's a lot of, matching of skills if someone does it well. If someone doesn't do it well, then sometimes it's just a raffle. So you could just get a mentor, somebody. If 10 people have signed up to be mentors and 20 people have signed up to, being someone who needs a mentoring relationship, then you could just get picked with someone random. I've personally felt that for me that never worked, because if I didn't get that wavelength right, then it was just a waste of my time and the mentor's time. And the last thing you want to do is waste your mentor's time. Otherwise, you can ask, another way is to ask your manager or your HR, right? Hey, can you help me find a mentor? Who would you suggest I go with? Who would you recommend? Here's what I'm looking for. The third one is to, make use of your LinkedIn contacts and other professionals that you might know to find someone you respect. Or ask a trusted friend or colleague, who do you think I should, this is what I'm looking for. I'm very clear about what I need to know in the next 6 months to 1 year. Who do you think I should work with? When you find a professional you respect, use whatever I talked about in the last slide, right? Make sure you do that exercise yourself, so that you value their time and so that they also understand where you're coming from, so that you get that relationship right. I would say never, never, never ask your boss. Could backfire for you at some point, because when you're with a mentor, in a mentorship, in a relationship, you will be talking about stuff almost always where you failed and trying to learn from that. You don't want to repeatedly tell your boss, I failed at these 25 things, right? It doesn't really help you grow your career up very quickly, honestly. So never pick your boss as your mentor. It's a really weird relationship to have, trust me. Don't ask a random stranger because, okay, Mr. X is senior VP of this organization. So, okay, it would be cool for me to be his mentor or mentee. Probably don't do that. They won't have the time for you. Or even if they say yes, they won't invest in the kind of relationship you're looking for to actually get something out of it. And don't go for the most famous person in the room to ask them to be your mentor. Like I've just put Elon Musk here. I don't say, okay, I met him at a conference, random guy, went up to him, hi, I'm so and so, I'd like to be your mentee. Try to take it from there. One, they'll think you're super weird. Two, they won't even have time for you. And three, it's not about a tag to say who your mentor is or how famous that person is. It's about you and what you can get from that relationship. So this is my if I had to look at this list and say personally what would I do, I would always go for a professional I respected. They don't have to be in the field I am in, because I do learn a lot from people in different fields and bring it back in. But they should know me just a little bit so that I'm not randomly making a cold call to someone and saying, hey, I'd like to be your mentor. I've seen you from afar. I read your last 25 posts on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's probably not the right approach that you want to take. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Okay. So I talked about earlier, how would you prepare a pitch to your mentor? I a little bit talked about what your elevator pitch should contain. But what I would like you to do as an exercise is to actually write down the skills that the said mentor has, right? What are you looking for? What is that gap that you think the person that you would like to get mentorship from has? What is that skill you're looking for? Personally, for me, I've often looked for financial mentors, because I felt that not only for my personal financial growth, but even for me from an organizational perspective, right? Somebody who's, or even I one time for 6 months, I picked a tax saving mentor. No jokes. Because I wanted to learn how I could actually do the best at saving tax for me. I didn't have the skills. I tried to get it from a bunch of YouTube videos, financial consultants, etc., etc. Finally, I met this one person who was taking care of he was a CA doing some accounts for somebody I knew. And, I said, where I feel I have a gap. This is your skill. You're obviously a professional in it. What do I want to do, right? How do I want to go from here? Can you help me? And the next thing you do is you actually outline or envision how the program will work. So it's super important for you to not go into a relationship or a meeting open ended, right? Don't go in with, hi, I'm so and so, and here's what I do, and here are all my achievements, and I want you to be my mentor. Probably they may say yes, but what will you really get out of that relationship, right? So think it through. List out the skill that you feel your mentor has that you want to get. Try to envision how that program will work. So when you go in there, maybe you say, okay, here are the skills you have. If I go back to the probably the tax consultant kind of skill set, you're very good at. I see that you're saving a lot of tax for yourself and the company you're working with. Can you teach me what I want to learn from you in the next 6 months is how I can do that for myself. I'm very clear that I don't want to break any rules. I don't want to cheat the government of tax, but I also want to make sure that I get the best take home salary in hand. Here's what I'm looking for. If I want to envision how the program would work, I would say, so I think I would benefit from spending, 2 hours a month with you, maybe on a Saturday morning if you have the time, or could you tell me when? So I've clearly put the time in place, right? So the person understands I'm not going to be like a bloodsucker and, I want them to spend a week with me or 40 hours explaining. I've said, okay, I'll do my homework and I'll come to you. I will only take 1 hour of your time 2 Saturdays a month. Um, and I think I would need this kind of help for maximum 3 weeks, or maybe 3 months, whatever it is. And from there, I should be good. And I'll circle back with you once I feel I'm good, and you tell me if I'm ready to fly out. Think about it as a little baby bird learning to fly. Um, the mom comes in and feeds them time to time. After some time, literally they're pushed out of the nest, but they can do it on their own, and then they circle back and they come back and land on the same nest and probably say thank you to their mom. So maybe that's something you want to do as well. And never be afraid to say, hey, this is as far as we can go in this relationship. So now I think I'm on my own. And from the other perspective, if you're a mentor to someone, same goes, right? You don't want to just drag out meetings with people, make it really boring for you and them. I've also seen one of my mentor relationships. The guy came in and he said, here are 5 books I want you to read for the year. Okay, management books. So, okay, I said, fine. I started reading the first book. It was pretty much not my cup of tea, really boring. But I was too junior and probably too stupid to go speak up and say, hey, I'm getting nothing out of these books and nothing out of talking to you about the books, right? So I just suffered through that year and then quickly changed my mentor at the end of it. But really, I felt I could have got a lot more out of just basic discussions with that person on whatever it is. So think about, and if you're a mentor, think about what would the person who wants to learn from you get out of this, right? It's not just about saying in your LinkedIn, I mentor people, I've had 5 successful people that I've mentored and here's where they are today. No, think about it as for you giving back something to somebody who might benefit from it, and not about just numbers. I've had 5 mentees, I've had blah blah blah. So, circling back and closing, setting timelines and clear expectations, envisioning in your mind how the program would work before you went to your mentor and set it up, and understanding the skills the mentor has. If you identify the wrong skills and the person comes back and says, oh, I'm not a Photoshop specialist, actually, but I do blah, then you really end up looking like you've not done your homework, and that puts you on the back foot. So, plan, pitch, woo. It is just like any other relationship that you're trying to build. Make sure you do it well. Okay, let's move. Okay, so here I want to just talk a little bit about how to get the best out of a mentor relationship. And I want this to be both ways, right? So if you're a mentor or a protege or mentee, either way, the relationship has to give you something. If it doesn't give you something, then probably just get out of it. I would really say don't waste your time and your mentor's time. Or if you're a mentor and you feel the mentee is like lost and really gaining nothing from it, just end it. It's okay. You'll figure out in less than, I think, 4 meetings if it's going to work for you or not. So how do you do this? First one is prep. Prep for success. For every meeting that you have with that mentor, prep for it, right? When I say prep for it, I mean if they've asked you to go do some self-reflection, or maybe listen to a podcast or whatever it is, go do that. Put in your time in the beginning of a relationship really, really well, because that's the only way you'll know if that mentorship is for you or not. Both ways, right? As a mentor, when I have a new mentee coming in and talking to me, I always try to give my best upfront. I don't just, I've learned really from people who've said, go read a book and come back. Yeah, that's not going to do it for most people, right? So try to understand what they want. If you feel they're looking for some particular skill and they can articulate that, then talk about how what you did in that relationship. I've seen, I guess maybe the if you take one thing away from this whole session, take away this point. Instead of saying, can you tell me how to do this? Whatever your problem is. Most mentors don't want to commit to that because nobody wants to give you advice that may not work for you. So you'll probably get stonewalled when you say, tell me, hey, you saved, going back to my tax example, you saved, wow, you saved 10 lakhs in tax. How did you do it? They might tell you how they did it. But if you say, I want to save 10 lakhs in tax, nobody's going to help you, right? Because they don't want you to try something and then come back and say they failed. You don't want, they don't want us to see that or they don't want to be in a place where they're actually liable for something that you did, and then you say, hey, my mentor told me to do this, so I did it. So you probably won't get as much out of anything if you say, what should I do? But if you turn the question around and say, what did you do when you were in that situation, you really really might get something beneficial for you. So again, if there's one thing you can take from the session, just take that tip. Prep for success. Do the work the mentor asks you to do upfront, like at least for the first two meetings, for you to get a feeling of how it's going. If they ask you to research on something or install something or play with an app or whatever it is, whatever they ask you to do, go do that upfront. Um, Put in that time and that effort so they appreciate it, and you probably will get something from it, and make incremental progress that you actually talk to them about. So you don't have to wait for your meeting the next month to say, oh, yeah, you asked me to read this book or whatever, listen to this podcast. I did it last night at 10 p.m. because I had this meeting today, and therefore here I am. Okay, make sure you do the homework ahead of time. You give yourself some time for it to sink in, for some time for you to actually, if there's something you can, try out from that, take the time to do it, and check on your incremental progress, right? So you can ping the mentor and say, hey, you asked me to read this, I did it, and here's what it's looking like. So here's my progress till now, and we'll chat in the next couple of weeks. That shows you're interested. That shows that you're connected. You're benefiting from it. And when somebody feels that you're getting something out of a relationship, and you're appreciative of it, they want to give you more. It's just human nature. So do that. Do self check-ins as well. So sometimes you've tried three meetings, it's going nowhere, you're like lost, you don't know what is happening. Do that self check-in, and give yourself a timeline. I'll give you an example of something I did, probably from a customer perspective. But there was this one customer we were working with. We were trying and trying and trying to hire for them. It was going nowhere. 6 months down, 3 months down the line, self check. Hey, is this the place I want to be? I've already invested X amount of time in this relationship. So is it worth me investing more? Okay, I'll try for another month. At the end of month four, I've decided if it's still the same place, I'm going to pull back, right? So there may be times, and this I think is basic relationship advice for any relationship or friendship, or any kind of corporate professional relationship we're in. Sometimes it just doesn't work, but you'll know in less than 90 days, honestly. Like for an interview, when you're going to hire somebody, within the first 10 minutes how this is going to play out, right? You get that feeling, you instinctively can judge. So give yourself time, right? That's why the interview lasts for about 45 minutes to an hour, so you get that time to understand the person. Same goes for your mentorship, the relationship you're going to build. If it's not working out, in 90 days you will know. Let go and be honest about it. Hey, I'm sorry, so and so. I came here because I wanted to get the following skills. And I thought that you had it, but at this point in the relationship, I feel we're going nowhere, and I'm kind of lost. So I think I would not like to continue this any further. Or if you want to do one better, I think I would wanted to have this discussion with you to see if we can try again for another month. And if it works out, great. Otherwise, just letting you know that this may not be. I didn't sign up for this. I didn't think I wanted to learn this. I'm not being ungrateful, but I want something where I'm going to get something out of the relationship, and leave it at that. The person will respect you a lot more, right? Instead of just struggling through, and at the end of the year, oh, how was your mentorship? Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, don't waste your time. Don't invest a whole year to get that. Okay. And then be Robert Bruce, the guy, the Scottish guy or king or whatever he was sitting in the cave, right? Trying to hide, and the spider was there with him. So try and try again, because if one mentor relationship doesn't work out for you, not the end of the world. A lot of people out there who have similar skills. Um, Go try again, go learn again. You will get something out of it if you persevere. Maybe and sometimes even in the, I guess the chemistry is wrong, right? Some people you just don't feel comfortable enough with. It's okay. There'll be somebody else out there that you do feel comfortable with, or can get to feel comfortable with. So go and try again. Um, and if I go back to the Dumbledore example, uh, different people have different requirements. Uh, Personally, I I don't like a relationship where, it's very hard and harsh and people push me to do stuff. I like to realize things on my own. I get there. So if I've picked a mentor that, adopts a style which is harsh and, pushes me too much, I won't get anything out of it. So you need to take that time to understand yourself as well, right? What style works best for you, and then pick a mentor that kind of gets in line with that. um, Sometimes it's good to say, okay, for 6 months I'll try a different approach, and then make that very clear to the mentor. Hey, I'm just looking for 6 months, and here's what I want to learn, and here's why I think this is going to work out for us, and go for the harsh approach. It might work for you, and you'll learn something out of it maybe. But in your mind, you need to be clear about what you're doing and why you're there. Don't just fall into a relationship or a mentorship. It'll get you nowhere. Okay, Sharath, let's move on. I think we're almost out of time. Okay. This again is along the same lines. Don't let peer pressure force you into either picking up to be a mentor or a mentee. You have to be ready for it. As a mentor, you have to be able to commit those 2 or 3 or 4 hours a month, right? And if you can't do it and you're too busy, it's okay. Say, hey, this is not for me right now. Too much going on in my career, too much going on in my personal life. I don't have the time for it. Same for a mentee. If you're taking 4 hours from somebody who wants to teach you something, you better show up prepared, and you better be ready to invest 8 hours of your time for 4 hours of their time at the very minimum, right? So it's not just, okay, I'll go talk for a few minutes. Hey, I couldn't do this. Can you help me? Blah blah blah. Casual doesn't work. It may work to kind of build a better acquaintanceship with the person if that's what you're going for. But if you think you're doing this to help yourself in your career or whatever goal you have, it probably is not the best idea and not the best relationship, right? So don't do it because of peer pressure. All of my friends have mentors. Oh my God, I don't have a mentor. Maybe I'm not going to get a promo this year. Don't worry about it. It doesn't work that way. As long as your skills are there, you will grow to wherever you have to go if you put in the time. Evaluate before you swipe either right or left, right? So before you pick a mentor, or same goes for somebody who's picking someone to be their mentee, evaluate, is this the kind of person I want to be with or train or help advance? Is this the kind of person that gels well with my personality? Can I spend 4 hours or 2 hours a month with this person talking stuff, and really really engaging in that conversation and helping and training and pushing the person in the right direction? Step away and forward relationship, right? So I don't have an ulterior, I don't want to have an ulterior motive. I'm not saying, okay, I'll pick so and so because, they're 2 grades ahead of me. And I can kind of, when my boss is having a great discussion for my promotion, this person, if I'm a good mentee, will step up and speak for me. People kind of quickly, especially the more senior person you're looking at having as a mentor, they can see through you. They know what you're coming for, right? So if you get into the relationship purely to learn something and you articulate your goal front, go for it. But don't keep any ulterior or hidden motive. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to get into a mentorship saying, hey, Mr. So and so, I've been stuck in this grade for the last 3 years. I have to move up. Help me, right? If you get in with your clear understanding on both sides as to what you want, go for it. There'll be people who can help you there too. But don't get in saying, I admire you, I want to learn from you, and then later on try to guide it to a conversation that helps you get a promotion. People get to see that. I think that flows into my next point, which is honesty, right? Any relationship, honesty is the bedrock. So you have to be able to have that open conversation with your mentor, with your mentee. If you feel you're a mentor and your mentee is doing stuff that you don't appreciate, you feel there's no value, you're investing your time but you're getting nothing out of it, let them know, right? So be very honest in that relationship. Here's my goal, and I think structure really helps with that. Here's what I want, here's how much time I want from you, and if we do this together, I feel you might also get something out of it, which is this. Or hey, I'm really good at, I don't know, writing API guides. So I can give you some kind of tips and tricks on that from time to time. But I want you to help me now to be a better communicator, to be a better negotiator, to be better at, I don't know, whatever it is you're looking for, right? So do that. And last point on finding a right mentor and some secrets which I can share is, if it's not win-win, it won't work. If you're forced into it, if you feel you're getting out of it, nothing out of it, don't go for it. Just try to make sure it's win-win. And let's move on. I think I have a couple more slides. Okay. Yeah, tech writing world. Okay, in our world, in the place we play in, what are some reasons for getting a mentor, right, or having a mentor relationship? It's upskilling. You figure out that you've looked at, the list of skills you have. World is moving in a different direction. I feel I'm being left behind. You want to upskill, pick a mentor. You're thinking about making a lateral move or a promo. Look at somebody who may be in that grade ahead of you. They analyze your skills and theirs, look at what the gap is, and then try to get a mentor to help you move there. You've had a bad review at the end of the year, and you find that your manager told you some things, some home truths. You didn't really like them, but when you reflected, you felt, hey, maybe I need to work on this for myself, if not for whoever the manager is. Go pick a mentor who will help you close those gaps, and then pay it forward. See if you can do that for some other junior in your team, some other peer in your team, some other senior in your team that wants a skill that you have. Pay it forward. Um, that These things I think will really help, or really benefit for everyone who's either a tech writer, content writer, or somebody who wants to be a content writer manager. These could be several reasons why you can pick up a mentor, or be a mentor to somebody else. Okay, let's move on because I think we have to do some more stuff. Okay, COVID era, 2 years working from home, so tired of seeing this glass panel right next to me and the window behind me because that's all I get to see, right? But there's an advantage because proximity no longer matters. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You have LinkedIn, you have other social platforms, you have so many forums, right? So you figure out somebody sitting in, I don't know, Russia that has a skill you think you want. You build up that acquaintance, you build up that relationship with them, and then you go for it and ask them to be your mentor. So in this world, it really doesn't matter where you are. Proximity is no longer a requirement to have a good mentor-mentee relationship, but scheduling is important, right? So it's no kind of walking up, meeting someone in the pantry, hey, let's have a coffee and talk about what I should or shouldn't do. You have to schedule their time and yours. If I were you, I try to have my mentor conversations when I know the person is least busy. So talk to them about their day. Normally, okay, for me personally, my meetings are mainly like from 4 o'clock onwards. I'm packed up with meetings. So if somebody want to have my time, maybe in morning works best for me. So be thoughtful, think about it, figure out what schedule works best for your mentor, and see if you can fit that in. And your pitch is very, very important. Nobody sees you around in the office anymore. Um, there are very few, they won't see you in a conference room presenting, they won't see you how you interact with your peers at the cafeteria, they don't see any of that. They don't know who you are. They probably don't even know your face because a lot of times we don't even come on video calls, right? So your pitch is very, very, very important. Make sure you do that well before you start, setting up a relationship. And then secondly, or I don't know what this is, a fourth point here, you can have a lot of mentors. You don't have to in a quarter say, I want to have only one. If you find four skills you think you want to work on, go for it. But make sure you have that kind of time to share or to spare so that you get the best out of it. Otherwise, plan it. Q1, I'll go with this person. At the end of it, I'll sum up what I learned. Then I'll move to Q2. Then maybe Q3, I'll come back to this person if they have the time, etc., etc. Most mentors are pretty cool. If you want to be with them for 1 quarter and then the next quarter you want to go someplace else, they don't even care. They don't even need to know it. You come back a quarter later, if they have the time, they will still pick you up if they like the relationship. And then your social profile holds a lot of weight because this may be the only place where the mentor sees your achievements and who you are. So make sure you keep your LinkedIn, whatever it is, updated. So people, without a boastful bragging way, they know where you are, what you do, and what your contributions and strengths are. So I think in a COVID era, I think this will really help. Okay, I think I might just have only one more slide, I hope. Okay. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. If you're a manager, aspiring manager, you want to set up a mentorship program for your team, I've kind of given you the framework as to what you need to do. Apart from that, you will have to plan the coaching conversations. You might want to bring in guest speakers to talk about a few skills. You might want everybody on that mentorship program to have their own action plan. So whoever is running that program, the coordinator, can keep track of that. Make sure everything's running smooth, and then make sure that you set up some sessions where you enable people to leverage and get the best out of the mentor-mentee, mentor-prodigy relationship. Always give them time to reflect and move on. So there are many different interesting mentor kind of programs you can set up within your team, within your organization. Anybody would like to talk about it offline at a later time, contact me and I can give you some more tips on that. I think there's just one more slide. Okay, for me, if I had to think about mentorship, this quote or Chinese proverb or whatever is like the best thing I've ever read, right? Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. People, well, even I used to think, man, what a cliche. Again, I'm hearing the same old fish thing. So, but then I was thinking about mentorship, and this is exactly it, right? You're setting somebody on their feet, you're helping them out. The only thing I would caution is, I mean, make sure the person is not a vegetarian if you're trying to teach them how to fish. So you yourself need to first identify what you're looking for before you go ask somebody to teach you how to fish, right? If you prefer to hunt or farm, maybe you find a farmer or a hunter and ask them. So while the analogy works kind of well in overall mentorship, I guess for me the parting thought would be, um, figure out what you're looking for before you go get a mentor. And when you want to get the best out of the relationship, ask them, what would you do in this situation, instead of tell me what I should do. And I'm sure if you just take away these two tips, you will have fruitful mentor, mentee, prodigy, whatever relationships through the next year in 2022. Thanks very much. Sharath will probably have a form for you to fill. And great talking to you all. Happy Friday.
Thanks a lot, Liane. Sharath, yes, please do. Sharath will share a feedback form. Please do add in there. That was brilliant, Liane. Personally, for me, we are trying to run mentoring campaigns at office, and there's so many tips in here. I think lots of us could have benefited from. You should definitely do this session at much bigger forums, Liane, because this has got nothing to do with any particular industry, right? This is across. Some very valuable input, especially about the post-COVID situation. Very often there's people are confused. So whenever I encourage people to get mentors, there's usually a lot of confusion. What, who, right? That nitty gritty. Right? Plus, there's also a tendency to sometimes it just kind of tapers down because people are not sure how to take it forward. Absolutely brilliant. I'm really looking forward to the slides because I am really going to refer this very often. Thank you so much. Yes,
Thanks.
over to all of you. Any questions, comments? Did you like it? What did you like? Please do speak up.
Liane, Sanjeev here. Thanks for that great session. You did mention that the mentorship should be a win-win situation for both, right? That means the prodigy is offering something back to the mentor. So going back to your example where you learned about tax savings and all, what did you offer in return to the tax specialist?
So I personally offered, a few templates for. So he was a tax specialist. He was also looking for new business, right? So I offered him a few template emails. I said, hey, I've seen your emails. Not that they're bad, but I feel maybe if you word it in this way, more people will be interested to come to you for you to file the tax. It was something as simple as that. In other, I think I wanted to learn storyline, Sanjeev. So I set this up with somebody who was an expert in storyline. I said, give me like 5 or 6 sessions. I'll download the trial version. I want to learn this. And in return, I will review, your actual e-learning programs and tell you what I personally felt as an audience. I did some audience analysis and gave it back. So you don't have to get into a relationship thinking about, upfront, what can I give you back? But sometimes you pick up a little bit along the way, right? When you're having that conversation, you understand what the person may lack or may need, and then you can offer it in a very subtle way. So you don't often always have to say, I'll give you this, you give me that. Sometimes it works. Sometimes when you get in and you feel you really have nothing to offer, over time you'll feel there's some skill or some bit of advice or some life lesson that you can share as well.
Yeah, probably once you start interaction with the
Yes,
mentors, you realize that there is something there that you can offer back,
yes,
but not at the beginning.
yes.
Yep, very well. Thank you.
No problem, Sanjay. Okay. So Amol, I can see your question on potentially cool mentors. So I guess you can use LinkedIn to search for the ideal mentor. I honestly don't believe an ideal mentor exists, right? Some mentors work out, some don't. We learn from each relationship. But if you can list out the skills you're looking for and then narrow down somebody, you can go from there. And sometimes it's okay for your mentor to be a geek and not to be cool because you might learn more. So yeah, that's really what I can tell you. Okay, folks, we're just out of time. Have a lovely Friday, and thank you so much for attending this session. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Asha, for giving me this
Thank you
opportunity.
so much, Liane. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks, everyone. I hope you
Thank you.
enjoyed your feedback.
Thanks, Sharath, for all your hard work.
Thanks, Liane.
Bye.
You all. Bye bye.